Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to ChiNet, the Agentic Commerce podcast exploring how brands are building in an AI world. I'm your host, and we have Matthew Taff today on us with us on ChiNet. He flew from New York to Mumbai years back and saw a gap in India's snack market that a lot of people living here had stopped noticing. And in 2017, along with his co-founder and wife Meher, he started Natch. 8 years later, Natch is in 250 plus premium retail stores across India. You'll find them at Nature's Basket, at Zoho House, Mumbai's Minibar, inside Taj Hampers, on Instamart, Amazon India, all around. They've done this with a small team and a total funding of under 4 crore rupees in a market where their closest competitors have raised anywhere between 50 to 500 crores. Matthew, a very warm welcome to China.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the warm introduction.
It's my pleasure. Matthew, if you would like to add something to the introduction, something I missed, something which you want to let our listeners know.
No, I mean, one small point is I think it's closer to 400 stores at this point, but that's not a big deal.
Wow, yeah, 400 stores is amazing. Matthew, let's quickly start. So, walk us through the beginning. Did you ever think you will be the founder of a D2C brand in India?
No, I think, funnily enough, growing up as a young man in New York, I didn't think Indian D2C founder was going to be in the stars for me, but, very happy to be here today. I think even my friends and family sometimes are still a bit surprised. I had met, as you mentioned, my wife Meher. We met in college, over 20 years ago, and we had lived in New York for about 10 years in the city. And she was working in advertising, and I was kind of doing business development for different startups. And she had the idea, said, "Look, let's go back to India for a bit. Let's check it out. Just for a year." And of course, naturally, that was 10 years ago. So, I think that definitely has been an amazing journey, and not something I would have guessed for sure.
Market, you did you walk into a supermarket or a kirana store in India and thought that okay, this needs to change?
Yeah, I mean, we had discussed even well before moving to India how nice it would be to have our own brand, to start something together, right? But you have your job, your work, and things like that, and it doesn't seem that possible. And to your point about walking into a supermarket, that did actually happen when I first moved to India, where I think that the obvious things are there, where you see a lot of the very not expensive stuff with a lot of like junk ingredients and things like that. But what really surprised me was that a pack of Doritos would be 400 rupees. So I said to my wife, "Why is this big pack of Doritos 400 rupees? That's insanely crazy expensive." She's like, "Yeah, well, it's imported, right?" So naturally, I wanted to try it, and I bought it, and it was stale and past expiry and that sort of thing. So I was like, clearly there's some kind of demand for different stuff, what people perceive as premium, but even the stuff that people are paying a lot for is still junk, right? So that's sort of when we started to say, okay, we had talked about the snack food brand. Clearly, there's a gap here, right? Clearly, there's some interest and there's something, and that's kind of when the research and the light bulb went off to start going down that path.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, it like so I understand. You realize that okay, a lot of snacks which were otherwise available outside as daily, as what you would eat daily were very expensive over here. When did this observation actually become a business idea? Like, was there a specific moment when you were like, okay, this let's get all down, all into this? Yeah.
Actually, funnily enough, even when we were in New York, one of the ideas kind of sparked to us because, Meher's parents would come visit us and they'd go to a Whole Foods or a Trader Joe's and they'd bring back all these different things from the US, like our mango slices, a very similar kind of product, like all these kind of exotic snacks. And I just was surprised that those kind of things didn't exist in any way, shape, or form in India. And then when we moved here and we just saw, okay, look, these are the health trends that are 5 or 10 years on in the US, clean ingredients, premium pack, unique flavors, things like that. And there was just nowhere to be seen at that time in India. And, we started doing some research. We started, going to different food expos, trying to find things that were unique to the market, but would still fit the palate, right? Like spicy things or with a Western twist, and kind of developing these unique flavors and unique snacks. And, we kind of just put one foot in front of the other and started with our mango slices and our rice chips and then took it from there.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. And how were when you entered the market, how did rice chips and mango slices how did you get Thai ingredients into the space? Did you think
so? It wasn't deliberately that we set out to say like, oh, let's do Thai stuff, right? It was a lot of just like, okay, we know that, for instance, in India, people love mangoes, right? And even there's no denying the Alfonso mango is probably the best mango in the world, right? But if you dry it and you try to serve it as a snack, it doesn't have the right texture. It doesn't have the right shelf life. If you look all around the world, they're importing these Thai mangoes or Vietnamese mangoes. It's a specific kind of mango that takes really well for it. So, our intention wasn't to have only Thai-based products. Like, even our rice chip, people always ask us, why don't you make these products here? And the fact of the matter is that we have tried for many years with different people, but it's very difficult. Like, even the rice chip is made from Thai sticky rice. So unless you're going to start growing that rice here, which is difficult, then it can't really be done. So, all of our most recently developed products are native to India. We use chickpea, we use dates, we use millets. So, the Thai thing was just a matter of, they have a very good infrastructure over there. They're making these products at scale efficiently. So we didn't have a background in snacks and manufacturing. So this is something that we could import with relative ease, test the market for, see how much literal appetite there is for it, and then go from there. And to this day, those are still some of our most popular products, our hero SKUs. I think that the Thai market fit makes a lot of sense in India as well.
Right. No, I think, I tried them on, I think I called them from Instamart the other day, and honestly, they're really, really yummy.
Oh, thank you so much.
That it has a very, very different taste, and there's I don't think there's anything in the in the healthy food sort of a position which tastes the same. Usually, what I feel is a lot of foods which are not fried and something like on the healthier side, they tend to be extremely spicy, right? And I hate that. I'm like, okay, guys, I want something which is healthy but does not overwhelm my taste buds, and I think that it's right somewhere there. In general, I think they're still priced a bit on the higher side, right? Like India, there's a Facebook comment as well. Someone is saying that India's purchasing power is low, which is correct. And I am not. What do you think? Like, who's your target buyer, or who's consuming these these premium products?
So I think that that it's not. We disagree with this idea that there is no demand for premium products in India, or that people look at something like even a Starbucks. If you walk into a Starbucks and what is it, 250, 300 rupees for a coffee, right?
Right.
But people are paying for the experience, they're paying for the quality, they're paying for the brand, right? So I think that you're seeing more and more. There's a lot of data that we see where it's like something like maybe 25% of India has a certain upper middle class threshold, right? But the next, by 2030, that'll become almost 51%. So you're talking about something like 250, 300 million people, basically the size of America, that are suddenly going to be this burgeoning class with spending power. So I think India is, and maybe for a long time will be, price sensitive, but more and more we're seeing that people will pay for quality, whether that's quality of ingredients, whether it's unique flavors, whether it's something different, as you said, not overwhelming with spice. But like, I think when the quality matches up and people feel like they're getting value for the money, then we're seeing that there is a huge demand for these kind of products.
Right. So there is demand if the quality matches
Absolutely.
the price they're paying for it. Yeah, I think you're right in a way. I've now recently people are ready to pay a premium price for these things. Especially, I would say the new generation. The later millennials and Gen Z, they're more aware of what they're putting in their body, what they're eating. From our, I remember when we were kids, my like biscuits, like sugary biscuits, were considered those glucose biscuits which you get in your everyday supermarkets. Those were considered like staple food, and they used to feed those to us that, okay, if you're not eating anything, that eat that. And these days, now. Yeah. Exactly, right. Yeah, Parle G. Yeah, yeah, Parle G biscuits. And I used to, and now I have a 1-year-old, and we're like, no, we're not gonna give her sugar or junk. And they're like that. You guys have grown up with Parle G. Why don't you give them
100%. No, I think you hit the key thing, is that this whole generation is a little more informed. They're a little more into these kind of things. I think COVID accelerated that a lot. I mean, to your point,
Yes.
I still joke. My mother used to send me to school. She was from Belgium. Didn't have a lot of money growing up. She sent me to school with butter and sprinkle sandwiches. Just white bread, butter and sprinkles. And I remember the teacher called my mom's house and she said, "Look, I think your son has made his own lunch. He came to school with the sprinkles." She said, "No, I made that for him." And, that was whatever, some 30, 40 years ago. So I think that our generation is looking at the back of the pack, is a little more aware and cares about these things in a little more detail. So I think that you're exactly right on that.
Absolutely, yeah. So Matthew, how has the journey been? Like now you're in 400 plus stores, right?
Mm-hmm.
And on Amazon, Swiggy, and you've not like 4 crores sounds a lot, but in terms of business, it's not a lot of funding, right? How have you managed to do that?
So
what do you think have been your best, I would say, strategy?
I think for Meher and I, a lot of it has been that we've had a pretty lean team, and we also haven't spent a ton on marketing. I think that especially on Facebook and Google and these places, it's easy to blow a lot of money and you'll get some revenue for it, but that's not how we've tried to start out and grow the business. We kind of deliberately start off in retail and, even trying to be a little bit into the non-traditional, these out-of-home spaces where you can connect with the customer and sort of get that brand recognition. It's not easy, but we've just been trying to stretch it, right? Like, we are planning to do a kind of a fundraise and then to get a lot more money to grow the brand visibility. But, we try to be very careful about where we spend our money. And then also since the beginning, now we have a good team in place, but Meher and I used to just wear 6 hats and run around like mad people all the time, right? So that was also a cost savings, is to not, not grow the team too quickly, too large. But, I think it's just being really mindful of it and being very careful and deliberate, right? And, I think that to that point, it has maybe taken a little longer, right? Where if we had 10 crores 3 years ago, I'm sure we'd be further along, but we've learned a lot and now we're, able to deploy it very efficiently and scale in a very strategic way.
Fair, yeah. I think that's very important to be lean and to scale, but scale efficiently. That's how long-term business is made these days. There are startups scaling to unicorn status or a soonicorn status in like a year, and then the next year they're out of business, right? Byju's and all the edtech companies, they scaled like crazy during COVID, and then we know what happened to all of them. In your case, what does a week look like for you and Meher?
So we have, besides this company, my wife also has her family business that she runs, and we have 2 kids. So our week can be very hectic. I think just from the Natch point of view, each week feels a little different. It's always some new challenge, new kind of fire you're putting out. But in general, it's like 9 to 6, I'd say, focused on the Natch stuff in terms of the team and meetings and, all the kind of everyday work. Go home, spend some time with the kids, decompress, and then in the evenings we kind of pick back up with the work stuff. I think that's the nice thing about working with my partner in life and partner in the business, is that there's no such thing as working hours, right? It's kind of like we're doing it 24/7. I think some of the best ideas that we've had for the brand is one of us kind of rolling over at 2 a.m. and saying, "Hey, what if we did this instead, or let's try this," and then that one thing leads to another, and neither one of us sleep too much. But the point is, it's kind of like you never really turn it off, but not in a nice way, in like a way that you have someone kind of doing it with you. So it's very busy, very hectic, and like I said, we're wearing a lot of hats at once.
Absolutely, I think that's what happens when you're co-founders with your wife, right? One thing leads to another. It has a completely different meaning. So
yeah.
Exactly. I think that's I've also faced that with my wife and me. We wake up at 4 a.m. and we're discussing, our next strategy and what do we have to do. And,
so very different than it might have been maybe 20 years ago or something.
Absolutely. So with Natch, there's a very interesting thing that I've noticed, and that you guys are very B2B focused, right? Like you have a lot of corporate gifting and Taj Hotels and all of that. What do you think of expanding in the B2B space as a D2C brand?
Yeah. So I think specifically with us in this kind of premium category, it's a natural fit and it makes it a lot of sense. It's something that for us has taken a longer time to crack, right? Like getting into an Oberoi or getting onboarded with different corporate offices, your Microsofts, your Googles. It's a very lengthy process, but once you crack it, there's a lot of benefits. One is that it's good recurring business. 2 is that most of these B2Bs are actually generally good paymasters, which is very helpful for a growing business to have that regular cash recurring business coming in. But also what we find is that this is a very low cost way of getting awareness about your brand, right? If someone gets your product in a Taj gift hamper, or they see you in a mini bar, or they see you at the airport, that's free branding for us in a way, right? So it's like just having that on shelf presence or in a gift hamper as it is, like that's zero cost brand discovery for us. And it's brand discovery to the right kind of customer. We want to reach customers who are traveling, who are going to the gyms, who are doing this. So it's it's a way to grow the business and market in a way that is very sustainable for the business. It's a big help. So that's something that a channel that we're super focused on growing as we scale. It's definitely like a critical area for us.
That's, I think, yeah, B2B. In that case, yeah, premium gifting becomes a very, very important gateway into customers as well, right? Not just about the revenue. And all over, in the last 8 years, do you think there was a time when, if you go back, like was there a time where you thought that, okay, this is not working out and maybe we should try something else, or maybe we should pivot?
I mean, I think that probably every founder must think that at some point, right? Like, you have those kind of thoughts come into your head. If not once in a way, then every day. No, I think that the most challenging year for us is like, in a way, it's always the next one where, as we continue to grow, it's always just new challenges, but exciting stuff, right? Like building out teams or, managing investors or doing pitches, that sort of thing. So it's always each year brings a new challenge. But, if I had to kind of pinpoint one specific year, I think just we had started the brand right before COVID, right? So at that time, we were just getting into retail. Nature's Basket was our first customer. And then all of a sudden, we're home, right? And the business kind of screeches to a halt. So at that time, some of your listeners might remember, but it wasn't Swiggy at the time. It was that Scootsy was there. So Scootsy was kind of doing that same delivery. And we were able to get on there as one of the few brands that were still running. So that kind of single-handedly kept us alive, where my wife and I are sitting there. We got 1,000 Natch bags. We have boxes of snacks in our apartment. And all day long, we're just packing it, holding it out the window with a mask on and hoping that we don't catch anything. But that kind of kept the business afloat for a few, for almost a year of just doing it, like literally from our apartment, packing like that. So it's the kind of times we look back on with fondness, but I remember there was a lot of apprehension at the time too. But we got through and better for it, I guess. So.
Yeah, that's. I think COVID was a make or break moment for a lot of people, right? It was the time when either a lot of businesses figured a way to survive. A lot of business thrived, and a lot of businesses also could not make it to the other side.
Absolutely.
Looking back now, do you think being an American founder in the Indian snack market is it an advantage or a disadvantage, or does it have its two sides, which Indian founders will not?
I would be hard pressed to say it has so many advantages. I mean, even something as simple as opening up a bank account was a challenge, right? And obviously, there's language barriers and work custom barriers and things like that, and just different styles. And I didn't have a network over here, so I don't think it was some huge advantage in that way. I think that people are very warm and accepting, and that's always been very nice. But it definitely, I think if I had to say any advantage, it's something like not naivete. Well, the same thing that you've asked me is when we first started the business, no one will pay that. There's no such thing as premium market. Everyone's too price sensitive. This is too expensive, and kind of just not accepting that and not believing that and saying there's 1,000 things like this in the U.S. Even in Europe. And I think that in 5 years people will come there. I think in 10 years, having the kind of conviction that this is where we believe it's going. We believe snacks are getting healthier. They're getting more premium. People care about ingredients, and having conviction and just saying, look, this is what I know that the trend seems to be from what I've seen just from my own experience. And I believe that, I think this is where India is going as well. So I think the outsider perspective in that way of just not listening to conventional wisdom and saying this will never work, I think is probably one advantage, I guess you can call it.
Right. Because as you said, right, like earlier, 2017, I think there were very few people who were thinking of any sort of a premium brand, right? It was more, how much can you scale? How low can you go? How cheap can you make the product? If everyone's fighting for that. And at that time, I think, like since maybe local founders were too close to actually notice that, okay, there's a gap widening in the premium market space as well. I think very very interesting. So Matthew, overall, what has been the most difficult thing which you feel that Natch has now come out of?
Well, I think that getting over that initial hump, as we said, of kind of getting some brand awareness, getting repeat customers, I think in Mumbai now we're pretty well known. So just kind of trying to build a brand on a very lean budget is a challenge.
Right.
I think for any business as well, learning cash flow discipline and things like that is a really important lesson to learn, where a lot of your payments are coming up front. And then your
Right.
cash flow cycle, if you're hoping it's 30 or 45 days, that can get stretched to 60, 75, 90 days. So just, having an understanding of managing your cash flow and dealing with all that, I think has been a challenge that I think any business must face. But, in our space,
Correct.
it can exacerbate things as well. So just being very mindful of that, I think, has been a good lesson for our brand. Learning,
Right.
how to
Very
manage it.
operational efficiency is very important so that you can manage your OpEx. Yeah, fair. That's very true. And do you think there's something about building a premium food brand which no one from the outside would know, which now you can help other premium food brand founders with?
Yeah, definitely. I think it would have to depend on how good their idea is. I think if it's too good, then I'll have to give them very bad advice. We don't need any more competition in this market. But otherwise, I think there's a lot of lessons to learn. I think that the cash flow one is very important.
Right.
I think, especially in premium, you have to protect your margins as well. Because one thing we learned early on, we used to, Meher and I would walk into a Kirana shop ourselves and try to get in there and negotiate with the guy. And he would say 30%, we would say 25%. And we'd go back and forth for 2 months, finally get it in at 25. And then what happens when we go there, it's on the low shelf and he barely orders and this and that, right? So if we had given him 30 and been his friend, we would have sped it up 2 months and been on a higher shelf. And then what happens? So the lesson there is that basically, if you're don't have the margin to give everyone in the supply chain a piece to make money, then you'll never make money totally, right? It's kind of like you all have to work together. There has to be enough to go around or you can't do it. If you try to beat people down, if you try to, squeeze every penny, there has to be enough for everyone to share and make money or the business can't thrive. So I think that's a lesson for anyone in consumer space, but particularly maybe a premium brand.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's solid advice, because especially in general trade, if your supply chain is not making money, then as it is, you've lost half the battle before even it started.
Exactly.
True. And if any founder came to you today, right, for advice, who's like, they have a idea, a small budget, but a lot of conviction, what is one thing, like, the single most important thing about entrepreneurship in general, which you would want to tell them?
I would tell them a few things. I would say, firstly, keep it simple. If you have an idea for 20 SKUs, start with one, and don't try to put it everywhere. Start with one channel. Say, I'm going to put this on my website, or I'm going to get it onto QC, or I'm going to put it into modern trade, whatever it is. Learn one channel cold. And then I think the best advice I would give to anyone would be not don't listen to anyone, but, keep your head down and keep grinding, because, you're going to fail, and then you're going to have to try again, try something new, and then fail again. And, I think that you have to be almost blindly have conviction in things, despite what, sometimes the people or the data or the world is telling you. And, that can be a little bit of a dangerous thing when you put it that way as well. But I think, you're an entrepreneur yourself. You have this thing. I mean, you must hear, it's a challenging thing to start something on your own, right? So you have to have that conviction in your beliefs, and you have to be willing to make mistakes and fail and try. So I think that unless you're going into it wholeheartedly with passion and with enthusiasm, then I would say, find something that is that for you.
100%. Yeah, I think, that's solid advice. And it's important to understand what advice to take and which one to not take, right? They're both like every yes is a no, and every no is also a yes. So you have to make sure that
Absolutely.
you're talking.
No, I think to your point, like, many years ago when Meher and I would first start taking investor meetings, we'd speak to one investor who invests in D2C brands, and they would say, you need to build out D2C. I mean, one investor would say, no, and then every time we'd have these meetings, we would like go back and kind of redo our whole business model and say, we have to do this, we have to hire this, and it's like, at some point, everyone's going to have their own view, right? So you just take your best guess and you go forward with conviction and you iterate and you improve, but ultimately everyone's going to have an opinion, and they're not bad advice, but it's just different perspectives, right? So you have to be able to weigh the good with the bad and take your best guess and go forward.
Fair, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And in the last 1 or 2 years, after AI has become so so good, I would say, in a lot of things. Have your working process changed, and has it been like how have you implemented or used AI in Natch or in your daily life?
It's the tip of the iceberg right now. We're just the tip of the spear, I guess, better analogy. But
Yes.
we're just starting to see it. I'm using it every day. It means my name is Matt. My wife jokingly calls me Matt GPT sometimes because I'm talking to AI all day long like that. But I think the agentic stuff hasn't fully reached yet, where I'm not waking up and saying check my emails and respond to them. But for a lot of emails, I'm saying, hey, this is what they wrote. Give me an easy response to say, right? So for my own personal thing, I'm using it in place of Google. I have an app taking notes on this meeting right now that's going to send me a write-up at the end of it, right? And it's just, especially in meetings, that kind of stuff is super helpful. I think, structure, anything that's like, we give it our projections, say, hey, do you identify any gaps? How does it stack up against the industry? So things like that. For our internal teams, we'll tell them, use this for responding to emails. Hey, have it give us 10 content ideas. We don't use it as like just blindly, but it's a good idea generator. It's a good place to start, right? It's good for proofreading. It's good for checking things. So I think that, it's not fully autonomous yet. It's not fully automated into our systems, but we're just starting to see it. And I'm using it every day. We're encouraging our team to use it as much as they can. And I think that whatever kind of people's hangups about it might have been, that's definitely going to be gone very soon when everyone's using it for everything.
Absolutely. But do you think like it's gonna like in general, like people would lose jobs and it's gonna be like I think people are already losing jobs, but how do you think the next 5 years are gonna play out?
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I think that's going to be a short-term downfall of it for sure. It's impossible not to, right? You're looking at so many jobs. Basically, I'm not the one to say this. I think even I heard Elon Musk saying it on a podcast recently, but any job that a computer is doing currently, in the next 2 to 3 years, AI will be able to most likely do it better, that way. So I think what he said, which makes sense, is that people who have real life jobs, your moving matter, as he called it, like you're, doing any trade work or repairs or that kind of thing, like physical things in the world, that should be fine for now. But, accountants or lawyers or anything that requires large data processing, anything like that, how could it not be disrupted by this? So ultimately, I'm hoping, if you're looking optimistically, that AI will be a huge boon for the world and it'll make everything a better place and, we'll all become vastly wealthier from it. But in the short term, I think, unfortunately, a lot of people will lose their jobs. But by the same token, millions of new jobs will get created for people who know how to utilize AI or help brands to understand AI or onboard into their systems or, become AI native in a way that can help people. So I think, like any big change, there'll be a lot of disruption and some people will benefit, some people might be detrimented by it. But ultimately, that's progress in the world. I think this is just moving so quickly that it's a little bit unique situation where usually what used to be 10 to 15 years now is something like 2 or 3. So
absolutely, and that's where like people who are adapting fast also matters. And I think in India especially, there was this whole last 10 years or 15 years, there was this whole thing of everyone doing a computer science degree and then figuring out what do they want to do in their life. I think that's changing. That's changing for sure. A lot of people now, a lot of parents, relatives, they ask for advice, and I'm like, you only go for computer science if you're, if you want to go to a PhD level, if you're like really into it, and don't do a computer science degree just because you think that there's nothing else, right? Because very soon the average engineer would not exist like as we know it.
No, I think you're dead on with that.
So, Matthew, last question for the podcast, for today at least. With Natch, what do you think? What is the next chapter? What do the next 2 to 5 years look like? And how do you think you're going to bring that up?
Yeah, definitely. So I think that the big thing that we're looking at right now is we're looking at a pre-Series A round of funding. So that's where a lot of our focus has been. We want to raise some funds right now because we do want to grow the brand, the visibility. We want to have new products coming out. We want to be able to grow on quick commerce. That's been a huge platform for us. We are already exporting, but like the export market for these products is huge. So a lot of these endeavors, they do take some capital to build it out. So just continuing to get in the hands of more customers, to get into more countries and continents, to grow the sales, grow the product offering, and we think we have the most delicious, most clean label snacks in the world. So we want to share that with as many people as we can, definitely. So that's the focus in the short term. And in 2 to 5 years, you've seen these big success stories in India. Your Whole Truths, your Yoga Bars, Mama. We want to be up there with those kind of brands, and make our mark and be thought of as these kind of real game-changing companies and bring a lot of value to the consumers, most importantly.
Amazing. Yeah, I think you guys are headed there for sure. So yeah, all the best for your journey, and I'm sure I'm very confident I'll see Natch up with the leaders in the health food.
Well, thank you so much.
I'll keep following you guys all around. For our listeners, that was Matthew Taff. He's the co-founder along with his wife Meher. They're the co-founders of Natch, where if you want to try them, you can find them at natchsnacks.com. You can find them on Amazon, on Instamart as well. And you can follow them on Instagram at the rate natchsnacks. If you found this episode useful, please share it with any founder who might need it. And that's how we grow, one conversation at a time. I was your host, Rachit Magon. This was Chinet. We'll see you in the next one. Matt, thank you so much for your time today. And yeah, wish you all the best.
You too.
Yes.